Hey, football fans, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're ready for another trip in our Throwback Time Machine. Last week, we landed in Seattle, 2022. Where and when will our time machine take us this week? Let's find out. Okay, now for those of you following along, today's episode will cover team number 18 for this season. So if you need to, check the description down below for a list of all the previous episodes and teams that we've covered so far. Okay, now I've made some changes to the time machine, and we've upgraded from 3 wheels determining the team, the decade, and the year to just one button. Now without further ado, let's fire up the Wayback Machine. Okay, here's our new look time machine, and as you can see, we've got a big blue calculate button here that we're going to push to get it started. And when it's done, it's going to show the team logo and display the year and team name that we're going to focus on. Now, the computer is going through thousands of calculations as it searches for the perfect team for us to focus on this week. And it has about 1,600 teams since the 1970 merger that it can focus on. So we'll find out here in just another second or two who it's going to be. All right, it looks like it's landed on the 2020 Denver Broncos, so they'll be our focus team of the week, and we'll dig into the archives and see what we can find out. Okay, the 2020 Denver Broncos were coached by Vic Fangio. Fangio took over the Broncos head coaching job in 2019 as a first-time head coach. In 2020, Fangio was looking to improve on his first season record of 7-9, but instead regressed to a 5-11 record and failed to make the postseason for the second year in a row. Quarterback Drew Lock started 13 games for the Broncos as quarterback 1 in 2020. The Broncos' passing offense ranked 26th overall in passing yards. Lock failed to break the 3,000-yard mark and also led the league in interceptions with 15. Jeff Driscoll and Brett Ripien both played in the remaining games and failed to impress. The Broncos' rushing offense ranked 13th overall and was led by running back Melvin Gordon. Gordon racked up 986 yards on the ground, scored 9 touchdowns. Philip Lindsay was the second leading rusher on the team, and he rushed for 302 yards and scored 1 touchdown. Quarterback Drew Lock was the third leading rusher on the team, putting up 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver Courtland Sutton was lost for the season after suffering a torn ACL in Week 2. Jerry Jeudy assumed the leading receiver role with 856 and scored 3 touchdowns, and he also had a 16.5 yards per reception average. Tim Patrick was the second leading receiver on the team with 742 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 14.5 average. Tight end Noah Fant was the third leading receiver with 673 yards and 3 touchdowns. The 2020 Broncos defense faced an uphill battle for most of the year, losing Von Miller in Week 1. They lost defensive end Jarrell Casey to a torn biceps in Week 3, and nose tackle Mike Purcell to a foot fracture in Week 7, all of them out for the year. But despite the injuries, the 2020 Broncos defense ranked 13th overall for rushing yards allowed and 16th overall for passing yards allowed. Linebackers Malik Reed and Bradley Chubb, who made the Pro Bowl for the first time, provided the pass rush, racking up 8 and 7.5 sacks on the season respectively. Linebacker Alexander Johnson led the team in tackles with 124. Safety Justin Simmons made the Pro Bowl for the first time and led the team in interceptions with 5 and also tallied up 95 tackles. The Broncos grabbed a couple of wide receivers with their first 2 draft picks in 2020, Jerry Jeudy in the first round and KJ Hamler in the second round. Jeudy started 14 out of 16 games and was the team's leading receiver, while Hamler started 4 out of 13 games he played in and contributed 381 yards and 3 touchdowns. Third-round pick cornerback Michael Ojemudia started 11 games for the Broncos. He defended 6 passes, made 62 tackles, and forced 4 fumbles. Lloyd Cushenberry III, also a third-round pick, became an immediate starter at center for the Broncos, starting all 16 games. Okay, that wraps up our Throwback Thursday review of the 2020 Denver Broncos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my next Top 10 project, which starts up in a few days here, where I'm going to rank all of the most valuable wide receivers each year since the merger. And I'll be doing the decade wrap-ups as well. So stay tuned for that and stay safe. I'll see you next time.